Hi, everybody. I'm Bonnie Gillespie, and this is a quick overview of the transit impact system. That is just a thing I'm calling it. We will see if there's a better name to come. If you would like to join us for Live Your Chart membership, I would love to welcome you. We do these kinds of deep dives all the time, as well as our monthly overview of the Woo Weather calendar for the month ahead. We use the Aligned Hustle calendar, which you can also subscribe to without Live Your Chart membership if you are a do it on your own type person. But if you'd like a day by day guide of how the calendar is shaping up for us all, this is a wonderful membership in which we do that, as well as these deep dives in particular areas of interest. This particular area of interest is to answer the question, how do I know that a transit is going to be particularly rough on me or easy on me? And since that is something that I am consistently asked about in my one-on-one sessions, I thought I would create a little system to help you use a checklist of sorts around the kinds of things that make a difference in whether or not a certain transit or an ingress or a station retrograde or direct is going to have more or less impact in your life. I'm coming to you from my creative cave right now because I have an unwell puppy dog sleeping right behind me and in all these blankets. So if at any point you see a little snout sticking up this way, that is actually happening. It is not just magic. It is both. It is magic and a puppy. All right, so let's get to the slides. First off, the transit impact guidelines have three basic tenets that we keep in mind for everything we do. And I've got an example on the screen here, and you can see the numbers 1, 2, 3 to show you each of these. The first one is just quick and dirty chart harmony. The planet is the what, the sign is the how, and the house is where it all shows up in your life. And so the example that I like to give is number one here, my own. This is not my complete chart. This is a mix of my chart and other things that helps me explain these examples. But this part is me, that I have my natal Venus chart ruler in Leo, 11th house. And so to use the formula, the planet is the what, the sign is the how, the house is the where, that means that the way I do my what, so Venus, love, money, enoughness, exchanging value for value, where my values are stored, right? All of that is Venus territory. How I do that is a very Leo way. Leo, gregarious, showy, confident, heart-led, almost like Tigger kind of energy, just bright and sunny, see me, see me, see me. And where does it show up in my life? For me, in the 11th house of friends, audience, greater impact, the collective, who we're here to serve for the future, the broad friend group at large. So that is how we can use that little formula of the planet is the what, the sign is the how, and the house is the where, it within our own charts. We can make these little sentences throughout our entire natal chart. So that's something to keep in mind. The second guideline for transit impact is that the farther out the transiting planet or the ingress that we're talking about, or the retrograde that's about to happen, or the direct that's about to station, or the planet's about to station, the greater impact it will have, especially on the closest in planets and luminaries. And so the example that I gave on this, number 2 right here, is if your natal moon is in Sagittarius and Pluto is about to go from let's see, what was I doing here? Yes, Pluto is, let's say Pluto's in Sagittarius. This is something that happened a decade, two ago. So let's say you have your moon at late degree, let's say you have your moon at late degrees Sagittarius, and Pluto is about to go across that same degree that you have your natal moon. Because Pluto is farthest out and your moon is closest in, this is going to be a very impactful transit. It is going to be a conjunction, which means right on top of it. That is very definitely something that is going to be felt. You can live your whole life and not have Pluto conjunct your natal moon. Whereas if we reverse those and were to say, well, what if the moon crosses my natal Pluto? Well, that happens every month. because the moon goes all the way around the chart wheel every month and technically 13 times a year. And so your natal Pluto is going to get hit by the moon by conjunction 13 times, 12 times, 13 times a year. And so it's not something that's felt in the same sort of way. So the farther out the transiting planet, or the one that we're talking about for ingress or retrograde or going direct, the greater the impact on the closer in planet. And so the closer in going to be Moon, Mercury, Venus, let's go Sun, Mars. And then after we're past that, it's much less of an impact, but not unfelt. Certainly Jupiter, Saturn, you'll feel it on those. But then when we get out to the outers, those types of things, they don't really tend to feel the same because they are happening more generationally. Third guideline for transit impact is that transits, ingresses, and stations, oh my, will activate your natal placements. And so this activity is predictable, but the choices you make upon this fated activation is still representative of your free will. So when I'm asked, do we have free will? Of course, you can choose to believe in fate or not. That is your free will at work. So the example that I gave here, number 3, is Uranus crossing into your 10th house and becoming conjunct your midheaven. This is the point of your career ambition, your reputation, how you're known in your business and in the public eye. Uranus coming across into an angular house is already going to be great impact, which we'll talk about in a moment. But getting Uranus on top of that midheaven is going to be an opportunity that we can see coming. What you're going to do with that opportunity, that's going to be up to you. So to go back to the planet is the what, Uranus likes to break things up, likes to create freedom where freedom did not previously exist. The sign is the house. So in this example chart, it would be Cancer. So it would be in a very nurturing way, a very mothering way, a very protective way, a very intuitive way. Those are all qualities that we would associate with that Cancer sign. And then the house is where it shows up. So that 10th house, the career house, especially with the midheaven being there, midheaven's not a planet, it's a point, it's a mathematical calculation. But what that represents is that there's going to be something breaking free that happens when Uranus gets to this part of the chart. Will you change jobs? Most likely. Will you change entire career focus? Certainly likely. But what will that look like? What will it actually take shape to be in your life? That's going to be up to you. Okay, so with those 3 guidelines in mind, we now are going to use the ingress questions to determine how big an impact any of these will have on your natal chart. So I've reset the chart wheel now to not have the Libra rising that my natal chart has, but instead the natural chart, which the default chart wheel has an Aries rising. So for those of you with Aries risings, congratulations, you get this exact chart as your natal chart setting. For everybody else, you would adjust to get your rising into the first house. The number 1 question is, does the transiting planet, the ingress, meaning coming into a new sign, does the planet that's coming into a new sign cross an angle in your natal chart? And crossing the angle just means that something is going from a house that is not angular into a house that is angular. Now, technically, are they all angles? Sure, but we refer to the angular houses of 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th. So that's the 1st house here, 4th house here, 7th house here, 10th house here. The matters that those include, like the types of things that are the where for those 4 houses. The 1st house is self, me, myself, and I. It's my body. It's my self-expression. It's my personality. The 4th house is home, family, your roots, your unseen parent, your heritage, ancestry, things like that. The 7th house across over here, that is how you do your relationships. That is the where of one-on-one relationships or intimate relationships, can also be business partnerships, legal affiliations, anything that is considered one-on-one. Sometimes even coaching can go there. And then the 10th house, that is going to be the career house, as we just discussed on the previous slide. That is where we look for how you show up in the public eye. It is also the more public parent, if we want to do parental dynamics as a 1 in the 4th house and the other in the 10th house. It is your ambition, what you're known for, your reputation in the public eye, and what what you do for your career. So anytime something is crossing the angles, those again with the outer planets having more significance on the impact into your natal placements and planets, crossing the angles is always going to be high impact. So is the transiting planet, this ingress that's going to happen, going to enter a sign that's in your life car? If you don't know what life car is, this is my concept on how we use the big three to tell us a lot about our personality and how we navigate the world in our lives over the course of our lives using this life car concept. So you'll go to bonniegillespie.com/life-car, and I've got info for you there. But the life car, basically the big three. So we've got as the driver of your life car, your rising, you've got the navigator of your life car is the sun, and the backseat driver of your life car is your natal moon. And so any of those three, if their signs are being entered by this ingress, that is a higher impact than if not. Next up, we have is the transiting planet for this ingress going to be entering a sign ruled by my chart ruler. Chart ruler also will be a part of that life car page if you go to my website for more information. But your chart ruler is the ruling planet, using traditional astrology, the ruling planet of your rising sign. So for me, Libra rising, that means that I am Venus ruled, as we established on the last slide when I showed you my chart ruler being in Leo 11th house, and that being a big factor for me. So if you have, like to use my example, my life car has a driver of a Libra, that means my chart ruler is Venus, and my Venus is over there in Leo 11th house, as we discovered on the last slide. That is going to be a high impact place, even though it's not an angular house, the 11th house. It is also going to be a big impact for me, even though it is not my rising, my sun, or my moon. So we now are looking at the angular houses, the houses that have your sun, moon, rising, and where is your chart ruler? What sign is that? What house is that? That's going to be another one that is high impact, so that we're looking at that. So now you see we're stacking these, we're layering them on. And yes, at some point there will be an actual checklist, workout sheet or worksheet that you can use for chart harmony for each of these. And you can do the stacking in a way that can lay out visually for you. But for now, I'm getting this instruction sheet up here because I promised my Live Your Chart members that I would do that. So next up, we have is the transiting planet entering a sign in the sign in which my chart ruler lives. And so, oh, I got this backwards. I actually just, hi, thanks, Mercury retrograde. I just got you that one. And now let me go back and do what I should have done for the third one. So what I just said was this fourth one on the list. What I will now do is what was the third one, which is the transiting planet entering a sign ruled by my chart ruler. I got so in on like, what is the chart ruler and where is mine? And I lumped it with the life card there. Now let me get to what is the sign, or what are the signs that my chart ruler rules. And so going back to me with the Venus chart ruler, I'm going to look at the houses that have not only Libra, which is my rising first house, but also Taurus, because Venus rules both of those. And if you need a quick update on, or a quick list of which planets are the rulers of which signs, I have that for you at chartharmony.com as well. So definitely grab that. I've got all sorts of goodies for you like that also at the bonniegillespie.teachable.com/courses space. Next up, bonus only. Don't go here if this feels too advanced. Is the transiting planet entering the sign of, or a sign ruled by, your current or upcoming profected ruler? How about your current or upcoming solar return ruler? If you just glazed over and went Gillespie, you lost me. I have no idea what the frick you're talking about. Totally fine, not a problem. Do not stress. That's why it's bonus points. But if you know what all that means, you know what all that means. Next up, we've got the transit impact questions for beyond ingress, which is when a planet is moving into a new sign. We've got stationing questions. And so the stationing questions are all the ones that I just asked about the ingress, but now I'm also asking specific to the degree at which the planet is stationing retrograde or direct. That's what stationing means, is that it is changing apparent position. It is entering its illusion of retrograde, or it's ending its illusion of retrograde and going direct. We want to use a tight orb for this, which means somewhere between 0 degrees and 2 degrees only. So we really want to tighten that orb and take a look at, for instance, if something is going retrograde within a degree of my, and then we go through all of those that we just asked on the previous slide. Something that's in one of my angular houses, something that's in my life car, something that is in a sign ruled by my chart ruler, something that is the sign of my chart ruler, something that is the sign ruled by perfection or solar return chart ruler. That is the layering that we're doing now for stationing retrograde or direct, specific to the point. So we can do general to the sign, but we also want to do specific to that degree within a couple of degrees orb for stationing retrograde or direct. Next up, we've got lunation questions. So now we're going to layer all of this on for places where the eclipses are taking place. The lunation questions, yes, are also for every new moon, for every full moon. You can ask these and determine what is the impact that that full moon is going to have on me, that that new moon is going to have on me. Absolutely, you can use that for all forms of the moon. Really, any of the phases of the moon will be appropriate for this. But specifically for eclipses, you really want to pay attention to the axis that it's happening on and across, because we always have it going across the two areas of an axis. But also, again, we're using that tight orb of 0 degrees to 2 degrees within that range of any of your important points. And again, inner planets, those personal points, same layering that we just did with our retrograde and direct, we're now going to do with the lunations, especially the eclipses. And then general questions: is the transiting planet an outer planet? Remember from the guidelines, the very first guideline we did was the planet is the what, the sign is the how, and the house is where it all shows up. And the very next one was the farther out the transiting planet, the greater the impact it will have on the closest in natal planet. So why am I bringing that back up if it was already like the second most important guideline that I gave you? Because by now I've layered on enough other stuff that you may have just like completely lost that one. So I want to come back and run a highlighter over it. We really want to pay attention to the outer things happening to the inner things natally. So outer transiting, inner natally, that is the combination that gives the most potent experience to each of these. And then, of course, bonus: is the transiting planet in a sign that it likes being in? So only traditional planets have essential dignity. And if this is a concept that is new to you, I have a really great YouTube video that I did about it, as well as this is a deep dive in our Live Your Chart membership, which again, I encourage you to come join. And we can make a few assumptions about the non-modern planets, because of course, if I'm asking you to specifically, or sorry, the non-traditional planets, meaning the modern planets, because if I'm asking you to do this specifically with the outermost planets transiting, creating the greatest impact on the innermost natal planets and points, I'm asking you to look at that and then go, well, is that planet happy in that sign? Well, only traditional planets have essential dignity. And you can go to bonniegillespie.com/essential-dignity for more on this. No diggity. I always say essential dignity, no diggity. I can't help it. It's my generation. I got to do it. Give me that. But especially with essential dignity, we can't say that there's planets that don't like being in Aquarius because sorry, that we can't. Let me go back. You can't do the whole. I hate to say can't. That's flubbing me up here, as well as Mercury retrograde, obviously. But we don't want to say that Uranus doesn't like being in a certain sign, because Uranus is a discovery that happened after traditional astrology, and it has been given characteristics as a planet based on a lot of modern constructs and not on the thema mundi, which is how we get a lot of our relationships in traditional astrology and a lot of the rules that exist for many generations. So what we can do, though, is say, based on what we have created in modern astrology, would it be more likely that Uranus likes being in a sign where it can create more freedom, or does it like being in a sign where it is already more free? So you can make some assumptions, but I'm going to caution you against doing too much of that. And again, if this is all bonus points territory, if this is way past your ability at this point, because I have gotten so in the weeds with all the things that I'm covering during this video that was supposed to be much quicker than this. Totally understand. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal. We can continue to layer all of this on as we tend to do in astrology in general. Transit impact examples. I am now going to finish off with this holy balls full of everything slide. So these are 4 examples that I'm going to give you for things that are coming up like right here now as I am recording this. A reminder that the planet is the what, the sign is the how, the house is where it all shows up in your life, and we want to take a look at the outer things doing things to the inner things. I think I've said that enough now. We're going to take a look at the solar eclipse that's coming up here in a few days. This one is happening on March 29th, 2025 at 9 degrees Aries. Okay, so what house hosts Aries in your natal chart? Is it an angular house? Is it a house that is represented in your life car? Meaning, do your sun, moon, rising, any of those take place in Aries? If any of those live in Aries, that's going to be a big factor. Does your chart ruler rule Aries? Does your chart ruler live in Aries in your natal chart? Are any of these important inner planets and points within 2 degrees of this eclipse, which is happening again at 9 degrees Aries? So if you have something at 6 degrees Aries, it's less of an impact than if you have something at 8 degrees Aries in your natal chart. That said, you're still going to feel it. I mean, I think we're all going to feel it. This one is a particularly potent eclipse coming up because it is closing off some business that's been in progress for quite a while. Bonus points, I love my bonus points. Bonus points for checking the hard angles by degree, perfected ruler, solar return ruler, essential dignity issues, etc. Okay, so I'm going to say that every time. So number 1 is this eclipse that's happening, and that's why I included here the sun, the moon, the north node, because that is what makes this eclipse eclipsing. The north node is actually in Pisces at this point, but we are finishing off the eclipse story that started in July of 2023 with this final Aries solar eclipse happening on the 29th. So if you've got Aries on the angles, if you've got sun, moon, rising in Aries, if you've got your chart ruler in Aries, if your chart ruler rules Aries, if you've got any of your important inner planets and points near the 9 degree point of 9 degree area of Aries or any cardinal sign, because we want to take a look at aspects beyond just the conjunction. I'm sticking with conjunction for this conversation because I know this is already a ton of information. But if you know astrology well enough to know aspects, I also have a video on that. You can check that out. I don't have a handy link to give you for that, but if you just Google, or you don't have to Google, you can DuckDuckGo. I've been DuckDuckGoing for a year now. Definitely prefer to Google currently. I say this while I know this video is going to go up at YouTube. I love you, YouTube, even though I just totally said that about Google. You can DuckDuckGo the phrase Bonnie Gillespie aspects or astrological aspects, and you'll land on a video that I did covering the aspects in short form, much shorter than this, I promise. But we want to take a look at conjunctions, we want to look at squares, we want to look at oppositions, and to some extent trines and sextiles, because those are interesting conversations to have about the, again, impact of any kind of transit. This one, in this case, this is a lunation, the solar eclipse that's happening. So that was example number 1. Number 2, on the 30th of March, Neptune goes into Aries. That's called an ingress. And this one's a really big deal, y'all. This hasn't happened. Neptune going into Aries has not happened since 1862. So this is not small, this happening. So again, we're going to be looking at Aries. We're going to ask, is it an angular house? Do any of your life car occupants live in Aries? Does your chart ruler rule Aries? Is your chart ruler in Aries in your natal chart? And of course, bonus points for checking hard angles by degree, perfected ruler, solar return ruler, essential dignity issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So again, a lot of action happening in Aries. If you've got Aries on the angles, meaning you have a cardinal angular chart, meaning Aries Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn rising, it is going to feel bigger to you that Neptune moves into Aries than it feels to the other 8 signs in terms of angular or rising sign existence. So I knew that was about to happen. Okay, so when we're talking Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn risings, we know for all of those, that's going to be cardinal on the angles. That's going to be those first, fourth, seventh, and 10th houses are going to be cardinal, and that's the modality that those signs share. This ingress is going to be of greater impact to those folks than people with, say, Taurus rising, Gemini rising. Who else is there? Leo rising, Virgo rising. And then beyond that, there's Scorpio rising, Sagittarius rising, and then finally Aquarius rising and Pisces rising. Those are not going to have the angular impact of Neptune moving into Aries. But they may have others. And that is why we continue to ask more of these questions. It's not just, is it in an angular house? It's also life car and chart ruler impact. Next, we got Neptune going retrograde. That'll happen in July 4th specifically of 2025, and it's happening at 2 degrees Aries. And so the reason I want to take a look at this is because stationing retrograde, since we were already taking a look at Neptune here in this example number 2, ingress into Aries, we want to take a look at when Neptune retrogrades at 2 degrees Aries. So Neptune moves very slowly. It is going to take years for it to finish its Aries story, and it's just going to begin that story on March 30th of 2025. It will continue that story for 15 years, 12 years, 13 years, somewhere in there. I want to say, is it 2033, 2034? No, that's when Uranus leaves Gemini. I don't have my, I'm now going, I don't have that date, and I'm not going to stop and look it up. I'm going to keep going because I have a meeting coming up and I need to finish this off. This was going to be quick, I swear. Y'all, Venus goes retrograde at 2 degrees Aries on July 4th of 2025. And what we want to take a look at is, what will this first retrograde of this preview we're getting of Neptune in Aries teach us? And so when we get that flip turn of the planet touching the sidewall, we're swimming, and Neptune especially swimming and hitting that wall and then flipping and going the other direction. Of course, it's all an illusion, but retrograde is something that has great impact, especially because this is an outer planet. And if it is doing something in an angular house, something in your life car, something that your life car rules, something that your life car's ruler is in your natal chart, something that is within 2 degrees of this retrograde station, that's going to be a big deal. So with this happening at 2 degrees Aries, if you have something at 4 degrees Aries, or even getting closer to 5 degrees Aries, you could really feel this retrograde do some shakeups in your life, depending on what it is that you have near 2 degrees Aries. It could be quite impactful. And so if you're someone who's like me, I don't have anything in Aries. Well, Chiron, I have Chiron in Aries, but otherwise nothing. And I have nothing in early Chiron. I mean, I have nothing in early Aries. Oh my gosh, Gillespie and this retrograde mouth. Y'all, home stretch. If I take a look at my empty Aries house, except for Chiron, and say, I don't really have anything there, it is still an angular house because I have cardinal rising, I have Libra rising, so my Aries is in the 7th house. I would say I'm probably not going to feel that Neptune retrograde 2 degrees Aries thing as much as someone who has maybe even Mercury at 2 degrees Aries. Like, you all are going to feel that if that is you. That means that your Mercury, going back to the formula that's at the very top of this page, the planet is the what, the sign is the how, and house is where it shows up in your life. That gets you your Mercury is what? It's how you communicate. It's how you believe. It's how you think about all the things, and it's how you communicate about all that you believe and you think. And so all of that activity and communication and brainwavy stuff that's happening in Mercury, if you've got that at 2 degrees Aries, even if it's not happening in an angular house, Neptune going retrograde at that degree or within orb of that degree is going to really impact your communication skills, what you think, what you believe, how you communicate about what you know and what you think you know. And Neptune is the planet that makes everything foggy. I like to say that Neptune is the magic 8 ball when you shake it for a fortune. Again, hey, Gen X, you shake it for a fortune and it says, or to answer a question, and it says, reply hazy, try again later. So you put it down and you shake it again, and the magic 8 ball says, reply hazy, ask again later. And it keeps saying, reply hazy, ask again later. That's Neptune. It is the actor planet. It's the liar. It's the magic. It's the glamour. It is the spell that is being put on us all. It's religion. It's cult. It's mysticism. It is escapism. It's addiction. It is medicine. It's art and creative arts in general. So all the places where storytelling is happening, that's what Neptune is taking care of. And so again, for this Mercury in this metaphorical, not the right word, in this hypothetical chart that I've come up with, where someone has Mercury at 2 degrees Aries, that station retrograde of Neptune on July 4th of 2025 is going to be massive impact. So I would say specifically, it is going to create some lack of clarity or aha moments around what you think, what you believe, and how you communicate about what you think and believe. It's a really powerful, potent transit if you have something very close to that degree in that sign or in a sign of the same modality, because that creates a hard angle. So again, that would be Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Sure, it will also happen in the softer angles, meaning the aspects that are happening not by modality, but instead by element. But those are more free flowing of energy kind of aspects. And so they don't feel as jarring. And especially for this conversation on transit impact, I'm really talking about what are the ones that are going to be like, wow, this is a wake up moment. This is an aha in my life. Trines, yeah, definitely. You can definitely experience Neptune trines as moments that you woke up, especially in spiritual shifts or completely changing your worldview. No big deal, right? I think we're going to have a lot of those kinds of awakenings happening. And then to finalize this conversation, Neptune direct on December 10th of 2025 at 29 degrees Pisces. So we've crossed back over into Pisces, which means again, in 2026, we will see Neptune come back into Aries again, and we can do these questions again. Of course, your natal chart never changes. It is where you have these things that get activated. And as far as what you will choose to do with those activations, that is always up to you. And if you don't like the options that it looks like you have, then it is time to take a look at your options through a different lens. I offer chart harmony for this. I can work with you one-on-one. You can join us in Live Your Chart, where we do these kinds of conversations regularly. And of course, tons of Q&A always available to you at my YouTube channel while I am there consistently, which as I am recording this, I happen to be. Thank you so much for joining me for this lovely exploration of transit impact. It has been a delight to share this time with you. And until next time, I hope you will give yourself lots of love, lots of grace, lots of space for all the woo weather that's happening. And remember, when you are really confused and everything seems all upside down, it's not you, it's the woo. We got it. We got it. We've gotten through every transit that has ever happened before. We will get through this too. All right, till next time. Mwah.